episode number 9.
Happy Valentine's Day, Josiah.
Happy Valentine's Day, buddy.
I told you, but for the people, I was going to jokingly buy him flowers and give them to him on the podcast. Because you don't like Valentine's Day?
If there was a LeBron of Valentine's Day and being single during it, I would be an 18 times straight MVP, dog.
Yeah, I was going to get you flowers and then give them to you on the pod as a joke, but they're like $20 at Walmart, and I was like, you're not worth $20.
That's absurd. $20 is way too much for flowers.
I'm sure they're cheaper somewhere else, but I'm like, eh.
Well, for a joke, it's way too expensive. If you actually have a girlfriend, $20 is not
$20 is nothing, but as a joke for my
on
friend on a podcast,
it's kind of expensive. All right, professional sports. I think the biggest one we were talking about was the Waste Management Open was told to stop serving alcohol. But that's the Waste Management Open in a nutshell.
Yeah,
like
they stopped
had guys streaking in just shorts to then do snow angels in the bunkers. I saw a video of a dude getting alcohol poured on his bare chest while he had someone flapping his male titties around. It was quite the experience last weekend.
They literally stopped letting people in. Who was the one golfer that said "get it loud" while I'm putting?
It was Rory. Rory was telling him to get louder while he was putting, which was just because it was on 16, which is the most iconic hole in Waste Management. In general.
I feel like if there's iconic golf holes, it's pretty much all of Augusta National.
Hole 16 at Waste
Management.
You got the island holes and like
Pebble Beach.
Hawaiian. You got Pebble Beach, stuff like that. So you got those, but really Waste Man. If you ask someone what their goal is, I know me and my brother talk about this all the time. If there was one thing we would do in our lifetime together, it would be get tickets to Waste Management and just go sit at hole 16 all day. We wouldn't move. We wouldn't follow a certain golf. We'd just go sit at 16 because there's a very
sprint there, though. That's
thing. True. I have been to a PGA event, and people are diehard for like getting to the spots. It's crazy because my uncle took me and my brother to the Players Championship at Southern Hills in Tulsa. And boy, was there people moving to get to spots. It was absurd to me.
Mm-hmm.
NFL just wrapped up.
The greatest team in football. Back to back, baby.
Not. If you want to say the greatest team in football, maybe have more Super Bowl championships than the Washington Commanders. But the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl, unfortunately, as demise to everyone except for people who live in the state of Kansas and Nebraska.
Really quickly on that note, our prayers do go to the people in Kansas City right now.
Yeah, imagine being a Chiefs. How does it make you feel as a Chiefs fan that your fans decided to shoot up a parade?
Yeah. I forgot to
win a Super Bowl and y'all go like batshit crazy.
Yeah, our prayers are with everybody who's involved in that, and whose families are going through that. I think we forgot to talk about that before this.
Well, yeah, I didn't really see it until I was on my way down here after making the script.
So sorry about it. So we pray for them that everything goes okay with them.
On that note of the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, though, I sent you the statistic earlier. The Chiefs, in the 3 Super Bowls they have won, which is 13 quarters of football, have not been called for a single holding penalty, despite the clear evidence of holding calls, especially against guys like Nick Bosa. And that is 3 straight games with an overtime period, so a total of 13 quarters. And they were, in the past 3 seasons, the 3 seasons that they did that, were one of, if not the most penalized team for holding in the league. So, I'm not one to say the NFL is scripted, but I'm also not one to ignore blatant signs of people getting preferential treatment.
Here's my thing on that, right? Like, I understand people are mad. Like, as a Chiefs fan, I understand you're mad about it, okay?
There's a video of Nick Bosa basically having his jersey and pads ripped off his head almost through his helmet by your right tackle. So it's not that I'm upset. It's that I'm disappointed the NFL has let this go on for 3 Super Bowls. This time they were, like the first 2, it wasn't as obvious. This time they weren't even trying to hide it. They were just letting it happen.
Can I finish what I want to say for once? Seriously.
Go ahead.
Can I fit? Like, every time I want to say something, you interrupt.
Go ahead.
Roommates is falling apart.
It's just a matter of...
No, it's just a matter of you being respectful. This is...
Well, I was trying to get in before you went on a rant about the Chiefs, so...
Sure. Yeah, Can I rant now? Because are you done?
Go ahead and rant about your Chiefs.
You sure?
Getting away with crap for the last 4 years.
Can I now? Can I now?
Go ahead.
My thing with it, right, is yes. Was it pretty blatant? Yes. I agree. Should there probably be someone to look into it? Yes. Every team holds. Every team does it. Was the Chiefs a little bit more blatant? Yeah. But what are the 49ers holding? Yes.
Every team holds, but every other team in the NFL gets called for it.
Should there probably be someone to look into it a little bit more? Yes. But at the same time, they let a lot of penalties go.
We'll talk about it later, but I think that the NFL should implement something like what happened with the Rockets and Knicks in the NBA, where the Knicks were able to protest an ending to a game because of a situation that happened, because of a bad foul call. I think that there should be that option in the NFL.
But you
because
can't...
even the refs in the booth that were, like, besides Romo, between Romo having his hand on Mahomes' right and left ball while he was watching that, while he was commenting on that game, the other commentators, like, were very clearly pointing out, man, Nick Bosa is not getting penetration. And when you watch Nick Bosa after they would say stuff like that, it was obvious why he wasn't. The best defensive lineman, arguably, in the NFL wasn't able to get past a practice squad right tackle. That's not something that just happens unless he's being triple teamed. But it was obvious when you see the jersey tug. I think you have to call. I mean, both ways. If you see a jersey tug, no matter what team you are, there should be a flag thrown. And it feels like for all 31 other NFL teams, flags are thrown. But for the one that has been the poster boy for the NFL and has made them the most money in the last 5 years, it doesn't.
I feel like we have to move on, otherwise I might kill you, I'll be honest with you.
Well, congrats to the Chiefs.
I respect
no doubt about it. They had a difficult season. They had a rough stretch in the middle there, and they overcame it. I don't like the fact that it feels like it's gotten to a point where it's not even a debate anymore, that people are actually seriously considering if the NFL is scripted, and that should never happen. It shouldn't get to the point where people are actually questioning if your professional sport is scripted, because at this point it feels so much like that. The only person who has beat Mahomes in a Super Bowl is Tom Brady. And that was the poster boy before Mahomes and them came around. He had the one run of Joe Burrow that beat him, but Joe Burrow was also the NFL's poster boy. So we'll just have to see. You want to comment on that, or are we moving on to the NFL Combine?
Just want to say something, but no, interrupt me 5 million times. I don't know if I can. This is the
You get mad at me for interrupting you, but you could interrupt me just as much.
Well, I tried to, and then Mr. Fastlips over here. I was saying I respect your opinion, but I don't think it's going to work that well with what the NBA does, because I don't think you can let one call determine the outcome of a game, unless it's like egregious. Like if it was a really blatant,
like the holding call that James Bradbury got last year that won y'all the game. The one that was so egregiously a bad call that it won the Chiefs the Super Bowl.
I was thinking more of the NFC Championship game where it was the no pass interference.
That one too. The Saints-Rams from a while ago. Stuff like that should be allowed to be. And I think they also should implement the ability to challenge no calls. You can challenge calls, but you can't challenge the lack of a call. And I think it'd be hard to implement a way to challenge it, but I think there should be a way to challenge it. Because like the Chiefs, like you said, Saints-Rams. Sean Payton would have had his challenge flag out of his pocket immediately after that one. Things like that, I think, but it's because of the fact that the rule is you can't challenge a no call, which I think that should get. There should be an amendment to that should allow for like blatant missed calls to get challenged.
I just think you can't have. I feel like holding's just one of the, like playing offensive line. I agree. Like holding is something that should be called.
Yeah.
But it's just something that is so hard to get a call for. Because I've had it where, and I think I told you that, I told Brock this for sure. I've had one where I'm barely, like I'm here on the guy, and I've gotten a holding call, and I asked the ref, I said, what did I do wrong? And he explained, like, if he's going one way, you can't just continue with him like that. You have to let go.
I think with holding, the biggest thing is if we are going to implement a rule where you can challenge a missed holding call, it has to be where the hold that was missed gave a easier, like, help to the play progress beyond if the hold never happened.
Yeah.
Because they called it for the 49ers. When Trent Williams had his holding call, it was because Brock Purdy tried to roll out left, and he barely held, let go almost immediately, and they still called the holding. Nick Bosa was going through the same thing, and he was being quite literally picked up off the ground by, like, being almost thrown to the ground by his shoulder pads and his jersey, and Mahomes was just allowed the outside. In situations like that, where they're going to call it one way for one team and that for the other, I think that there should be an implemented rule. Like, just holding in general, it's going to happen. You're going to have to let some go. But I think in a situation where it allows a runner a free lane to the outside, should be allowed to be challenged, which is the reason Mahomes was able to scramble and make a lot of plays, was because Nick Bosa and Chase Young were being held on the outside.
I don't know. I feel like the more we argue about this, the more we want to rip each other's heads off. And
well, the more we talk about it, the further down the rabbit hole we're going to get, and then we're not going to get to the rest of the long script that we have, because I actually did a lot of work in NBA stuff.
Yeah, you actually did stuff for once. And
I actually added majority of this. Before I got on this, it literally was only about the waste management. You had written on here that the greatest team had won back-to-back Super Bowls, and it had NASCAR. Everything else I added.
I have been busy this week, okay?
So have I.
Actually doing stuff for school. Well,
not for school, but I've been busy. But looking ahead to the NBA or NFL draft and draft combine, I think it's kind of obvious who's going to be going first overall. Just as about who has that pick. Because I know there's been rumors about the Commanders trading up, which I pray we do. But it would take an absurdly massive haul to get moved up. There have been reports that the Patriots are willing to trade out of 3, which would be absurd considering their need for a quarterback and the fact that the top 3 prospects are quarterbacks this year. I don't know how you feel about you don't really have a lot to worry about draft wise because you guys have the last pick. I'm in a completely different boat considering the Commanders have number 2.
My thought process is Chicago goes 1 with Marvin Harrison, because I think Justin Fields is not the problem there. I think you build around him.
They're not going to do that, though.
Washington needs a quarterback. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I know we need a quarterback. We've been talking about it for years. Ever since we took Alex Smith from you guys and helped you move Mahomes to the starting role, we've needed a quarterback. Realistically, since RG3 and Kirk Cousins draft class, we've needed a quarterback.
But I don't know why the Pats would trade out of there.
I don't either. But there have been rumors that they're willing to, which would give teams like the Cardinals a chance to move back in if they want to try to get Marvin Harrison, depending on how the Caleb Williams trade goes with if they trade 1 or if Caleb Williams falls to 2, kind of however that goes. Marvin Harrison is by far the best prospect in the draft, in my opinion, just based on skill at their position and difference between the 1 prospect and the 2 prospect, I think is way bigger. Him and Brock Bowers, I think when you look at the rest of the draft class at their position, they're by far the best 2 prospects for their position group. I think Caleb Williams has the most potential, but I think the potential gap between him and Drake May is closer than people give it credit for. I would say that it's a 1A, 1B, 1C kind of scenario with those 3. Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels. I would say it's like 1A, 1B, 1C. And I think with Marvin Harrison, there's not another receiver anywhere in the realm of Marvin Harrison Jr. in this draft class. Same thing with Brock Bowers at tight end. There's not a soul in the same universe as those 2 guys at their position. At least that's the way I view it.
Yeah. I don't know. I know you have on here Drake Stoops not getting invited to the Combine.
Yeah, Drake Stoops was snubbed from the Combine. Had double-digit touchdowns. had over 1,000 receiving yards, and was in the argument for best receiver in the Big 12. In my opinion, he was the best receiver in the Big 12, and he was not invited to the draft combine, which is absurd to me. How? And I saw some Texas fan on Twitter said that it was because the NFL doesn't want short, white, slow receivers anymore. But I understand he may not be what you'd want in an NFL receiver, but he did his job. He showed what he could do in the college level. And if any other receiver at any other school, I think, had put up those stats, they would have got draft combine invite. But because it's a fourth-year guy out of OU who everyone seems to hate, and he's a short, white receiver, he didn't get draft combine invite.
Do you have to be invited to the combine, or can you just show up?
You have to be invited.
Is it? Okay.
So Drake Stoops, the only chance that teams will get to see him will be at the Pro Day, and what he showed at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's just a little crazy if you need an invite, but I understand why.
Because they just don't want every college football player in the nation showing up. They only want the select few.
Best.
And even then, there are going to be guys that aren't. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to do a single test at the combine. If he does, then it's probably not it's not best for him. He may have him measure out like his height, his weight, stuff like that. But they're not going to have him run a 40. They're not going to have him do a gauntlet pass, like catching drill. They're not going to have him do any of that. His agent is not going to let him vert. He's not going to test. So there's essentially spots open for those top guys that aren't going to do any of the tests. That Drake May could come in and do those, or not Drake May, Drake Stoops. There's so many Drakes that I'm fans of. Drake Stoops could come in and just do the drills and give him the invite. It's not like Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be taking up a spot in those drills.
I feel like if you get an invite, you should have a form that says, "Will you test out?" And then that way it's like, we have a guy who's not going to run the drills or anything like that.
Yeah,
we'll invite him.
Like what the NBA does with all-star reserves, where if guys are hurt, they then select a replacement. Daytona week in NASCAR.
Are we excited about cars going fast and left?
I am indeed.
Very.
I've been missing racing since the F1 season ended, so I'm ready to. I know the season already started with the race at the LA Coliseum,
but that's
because
not
of
race.
Because of how small the Coliseum is, I prefer to watch things that are actually. I mean, Denny Hamlin won it. I'm surprised he's still racing.
Just short track racing.
Yeah, well, considering his shoulder issue from last season, I'm surprised he's still racing. But, hey, whatever he can do. I know, and then, so I guess moving on from that to NBA, there's not a lot to talk about right now. Once we get to Cup Series playoffs, there'll be more to talk about.
Then we can talk, if something wild happens, like someone gets into a fight or...
Yeah, there's just not a lot to talk
incredible
about. Incredible
wreck. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or kind of fun to talk about it.
NBA, like I said earlier about the NFL challenging calls and things like that, the Rockets-Knicks ending is being protested by the Knicks, which I don't know if you've heard this rule or seen anything about it, but it would essentially allow for an overtime period to be played between the Rockets and Knicks, despite the fact that they don't play each other again for the rest of the season. And it would be specifically based around finalizing the score of that game. It would be an overtime period where they play for another, I think it's 5 to 8 minutes, somewhere in that range of how long an overtime period is. They would play that. Whoever came out on top, they would add that score, and they would become the winner of the game. Only 6 of those protests have ever upheld in NBA history, despite the numbers upon numbers of protests that have been started. But I think that the Knicks have just about as good a case as anybody has ever had, because of the fact that both the head refs after the game came out and said that they rewatched it and noticed that they had made a bad call and that it was not intentional contact and that there was never supposed to be a foul called. So I think that is kind of just about as good of a case as you can have in that situation.
Yeah. I remember, I watched the video after it happened. The Knicks head coach was, mid-drawing of a play.
Tom Thibodeau was...
He was ready.
In the middle drawing it, yeah.
I think the funniest part was when he found out the game was over, of the immediate mood change of what the F? Go yourself.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau was quite the upset human being after that game. But that's just Thibodeau's personality.
Here's my question for you, because I just looked at this. Gordon Hayward is still playing?
He is. He's been hurt since late December with a calf injury, but yes, he's still playing.
I'm amazed.
He's averaging 15 to set. I think he's averaging No, he's averaging 14, 7, and 7, I think, something like that. He was playing in Charlotte before.
I know that, but I thought the fact that man is still walking, by the way, after that injury he suffered,
Yeah,
is a miracle.
Modern medicine is crazy because him and Paul George, I think Paul George's was worse than what Hayward's was. But the fact that both of them are still playing, and then Paul George's case playing at an elite level, is absurd. But it also speaks to what modern medicine can do.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, I thought that man retired this past year.
We'll get to that later, though, when we talk about trade deadline. But Shaq gets his number 32 retired in Orlando. Congrats. He is one of 3 players to have his number retired all time, minus Bill Russell in this situation, because Bill Russell has his number retired for every team. But he is one of 3 players all time to have a number retired for 3+ teams, in his case, the Heat, the Lakers, and now the Magic. He joins Wilt the Stilt, obviously one of the greatest to ever do it for multiple teams, and Pistol Pete Maravich, who has his number retired once for a team he never played for, but because of his legendary status in the state of Louisiana and the area of New Orleans and Baton Rouge, he got his number retired by the Pelicans despite never playing a game for them. So realistically, some people won't consider Pistol Pete in that conversation, say it's just Wilt and Shaq now, but Pistol Pete did indeed have his number retired for the Pelicans.
Yeah. Hold on, quick question. Sidebar here.
Yeah.
Do you think I've just been seeing this a lot lately, as the NBA season ramps up? Do you think Wilt actually scored 100?
Absolutely not. They have all these different videos of him talking to Bill Russell, and they have all these different very high quality videos, or at least high quality for the time. But there's not a single video from Wilt's 100-point game. I saw someone post a video of from his 78-point game, which is more believable. And then they edited it. The funniest part is there's YouTube videos it says it's the 100-point game. If you look in the captions, Wilt's 78-point game cut and edited. It's they're trying to just make it obvious at this point, which is, I think, funny. But I don't think it happened until I see video evidence. It'll be hard for me to agree that it did happen. Wilt was a freak. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Dude did some crazy things statistically, but 100 without any video proof is kind of crazy, because now we've seen that there's video proof of his 78-point game. Mm-hmm. So there was videos going, obviously, at Wilt Chamberlain games. It's not like 100 was in his NBA debut. He was obviously having videos of his games. So the fact that we just have miraculously never come across one for the 100-point game, I think, is a little bit too suspicious.
I feel like I'm not one to believe conspiracy theories, but this one I'm starting to believe. I feel like the video of it is out there, but we just haven't found it yet.
That could be the case. Or the video's out there, someone has it, and they know that Wilt didn't score 100, so they're hiding it.
That too.
It could be. There could be a number of things.
I feel like either that or the 78-point game is this mystical 100-point game, but for years we've just didn't realize it. But I don't know. That's what I feel, is that it's out there, someone has it.
Yeah.
But we just don't know.
Kind of talking going into All-Star break, Wembanyama cemented himself realistically as the best rookie heading into the break. He kind of puts himself atop the tower with a little bit more space between him and Chet at this point, as Chet's kind of had a down stretch. But after his triple-double where he had 10 blocks, he had a triple-double regarding and only 5 assists, which is an absurd statistic to see. But 10 blocks, I mean, Chet had 7 earlier this season, so it's not like it's out of the ordinary for these two guys. But to see it, I think, kind of puts him easily at the top of that rookie ladder ahead of Chet. And there's still a large range between him and Chet and the next best guy, in my opinion, at least. I don't know if you've seen any Wemby versus Chet content. It's all over my For You page as a Thunder fan, so.
No, I haven't. I was honestly trying to figure out if Holmgren's a rookie or not, because I don't remember.
It's the Ben Simmons situation. He's technically a rookie because he's never played in a season, despite it being his second year on the roster, because he broke his foot in a pro-am versus when he was playing LeBron and never got to play in his first season. So it's kind of a Ben Simmons situation where he was injured his entire first year and is now playing in his rookie season despite it being his second season on the roster.
Yeah.
Trade deadline.
As we mentioned, Gordon Hayward, he's now on the Thunder.
Added some veteran depth. He has not a veteran experience and forward depth. He has not played for us yet because he's still nursing that calf injury. But I think with how good the Thunder are playing right now, we don't need to rush him back into playing. We just need to let him get healthy. We're still sitting top 3 in the West with half a game between us and the other top 3 teams in the West. There's 4 teams that are all within a game of each other at the top of the West. So it's not like we're in a predicament like we're not close to first place. We need to get him back. I wouldn't say rushing him back would be our best bet, but that's just me as a Thunder fan.
76ers added Buddy Hield.
Been in trade rumors for the past, since he's been drafted. Dude's been in the trade rumors and finally is out of Indiana, although Indiana is just now getting good, so it doesn't make sense in my mind why they would get rid of him because he was a good perimeter shooter for them. But I think it was mainly to clear up space in that starting lineup so they could move Bruce Brown back to the starting lineup.
Yeah, trying to go a little quick here with these since there's just a lot.
You skipped over the Mavs, but
I was going back to it.
Oh, you were? Okay. Mavs added size in P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, and in their first game with P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, they beat the Thunder by 30. So Thunder didn't play great in that game, but the Mavs just played better. It's hard to deny that.
Knicks bolster starting lineup in 6-man role, adding
Bojan.
Big Boban.
No, not Big Boban. That's Bojan Bogdanovic. He played power forward. He's going to be moving to small forward, realistically, for the Knicks to play alongside Julius Randle at their forward positions. Makes that starting lineup a dangerous one, considering the Knicks had won like 9-ish in a row up until trade deadline. And they brought in Alec Burks from the Pistons, too, which basically just gave them a new 6-man to replace Quickly, who they traded. Are you trying to look up Bojan Bogdanovic?
No, I was looking at Boban.
Boban is, I believe, not on. He's either not rostered or he's not on a contender. Yeah, he's
Dallas.
on the Rockets.
Dallas.
It says Rockets right there. That's ESPN.
Well, Google lies.
Google lies. He's on the Rockets roster right now. So, like I said, not really on a contender. The Rockets are garbage. The Nets acquired Schroeder for Spencer Dinwiddie, who was then bought out by the Raptors. That's the only reason I really put this trade on here was that him being bought out by the Raptors and then choosing to sign with the Lakers, who needed point guard depth. And they add that with the veteran and Spencer Dinwiddie, who has been in trade talks to end up in LA for the last 4 years and finally does. And Pat Bev ends up in Milwaukee to kind of help give Dame some help on the defensive end. Considering Dame is arguably one of the best scorers in the league, but he's also one of the worst defenders in the perimeter.
Didn't I have something about LeBron on here?
I think so, but I couldn't find any video evidence, so I didn't want to talk. You said something.
It might have just been a rumor.
I think it was because I couldn't find anything about him making the statement that was on here, so I didn't want to put it on here.
I might have found it on here. I don't remember. Supposedly LeBron's thinking about retiring.
He's not going to.
Probably
He's
not.
waiting to play with his son. That's for sure.
MLB. The New Jersey suck. That's it.
Fair statement. The players and fans have both been complaining. Fans, based on how they look, have been complaining, and the players have not really been worried about the looks. They're more worried about how they feel, and they said they feel there have been multiple players that have complained about them feeling much worse than the old jersey options.
Something I found out, actually, was those jerseys have been in use since the All-Star game of last year. They used them in that game.
They're not great jerseys.
No, they look really like a really cheap jersey.
They're also just very, very different color-wise. Like the Marlins jersey looks completely different, which is supposedly the same exact color, but there's a very stark difference in colors. Which is sad because the Marlins have one of the best uniform combos in the MLB, so to see them get those changed is unfortunate. The batting practice, wow. English is not that difficult. The batting practice hats have been revealed, and for the first time in MLB history, they are different from the spring training hats. Typically, the spring training hats and the batting practice hats are the same if you're not aware. And this is the first time the MLB has done this where they've had a different hat for batting practice than they've had for spring training. And a lot of the hats look pretty decent in comparison to what some of the teams did with their spring training hats, which were awful for some teams. Some teams did really good for both hats. Some teams did really bad for both hats. And some teams shot 50%, which is all you can really ask for. You pulling up pictures of the hats?
I'm trying to find them, but I can't find them.
It's not something that's...
Maybe this is it. Yeah, they look okay. They've done good with hats, but
They look pretty good. We'll have to find photos of them later. But there was a video that surfaced, kind of just if we're talking about early contenders. Obviously, you got to keep Rangers, Astros, teams that have been good. But a team that wasn't as good as people expected last season is the Dodgers. And they're going to be looking to make a deep run, especially since a video of Ohtani swinging a bat post-surgery surfaced. And he is still hitting the ball further than I could if I ever got luck. If I ever went on steroids and tried to hit a baseball, he would still be hitting the ball about 3 times as far as I could. Dude was hitting absolute nukes in Dodger Stadium for a batting practice session that just looked great. What is it, the Diamondbacks?
that's the Diamondbacks one.
Diamondbacks have always had good hats. They've always had a good color combo.
Spend money on that one.
I love the Diamondbacks serpentine jerseys that they had, the sand gray, or the sand beige, I guess would be the best way to say it. Those jerseys are sick. They've got a good color scheme. Them and the Marlins, I think, have some of the best options for color schemes in the entire MLB.
I like the Phillies practice, or BP one.
That's pretty good.
I like the Fanatic.
So that's all we really had written down for this episode here. I guess. Thanks for watching. Next episode.
Stealing my thing.
Well, I was going to let you finish it off. I'm just kind of going on the next episode. Next episode will be college, and we will be discussing different things involving college softball, as there's more tournaments this weekend. Basketball, obviously, will be discussed as we're still headed into March. College baseball is getting started up pretty soon, or if they have, there hasn't been any crazy upsets. We'll try to take a look at the news there, see if there's been any major differences between what they expected in the offseason and what's happening now.
We can talk about what happened in the Cal softball game. Did you see that?
I did not.
Oh,
It
was kind of funny.
We'll have to table it. We'll talk about, obviously, Jordy Ball's injury, as there has been some confirmation on what has happened with her, but that will be saved for Sunday's episode.
Yeah.
Go ahead and send us off here.
Oh, can I now? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy us arguing about literally stupid things that shouldn't be argued about, that's why we're roommates.
Going to be roommates.
Yeah, I mean, you crash on my couch enough at this point. Where was I? Make sure to subscribe and leave a like. If you have anything that you want us to talk about, leave it in the comment section below. And eventually we'll still get social media, so you can leave us stuff below. Otherwise, thank you for watching. We'll see you Sunday when we talk about college.
College athletics in general. See ya.